Stuffing and like potato bake and pavlova.
Yeah, pavlova, I think, really suits. I think that's a good Australian thing.
Yeah. And
although the Kiwis would argue us on that.
Hi, I'm Andy.
And I'm Roger.
And welcome to The Middle,
where we try to have thoughtful conversations
about awkward topics
on our search to find the middle.
That's fatphobic.
I don't feel war. I just own halfway to Siwa.
A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
I act as if God exists.
Put your masks on.
How dare you! You have stolen my dreams, my childhood, with your empty words.
Hey Roger, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Andy. In my household, Christmas is all about the kids. We've been having Elf on the Shelf, we have Santa coming, cookies, all the kind of things that I didn't get when I was a kid because I grew up in a Chinese household. So I'm paying it forward, right?
Elf on the Shelf, this is like a relatively new phenomenon. When did this start? We do it too, but it just sort of came out of nowhere. I don't know. It seems like a pretty American thing to do.
I think so. I think it's actually just another thing to add to a parent's to-do list to keep the magic alive. You know, just every night you have to think of a new and exciting way for these elves to get together. We have 3 elves, one for each kid. Yeah, so when the kids are sleeping, they'll come to life and they'll wake up in interesting poses and things like that. Have you had any good ones or any strokes of genius around what the elves did at your house?
Not strokes of genius. I don't think elf placement quite deserves that degree of accolade, but no, we've done
it's
fans.
Hard to think of. I want to give it credit.
No, we've done fans. We've done like ceiling fans. That is, yeah, just different places. They're a bit creepy though. These little dolls. I don't know that 3 of them would. It's a bit like Halloween bleeding into Christmas.
Yeah,
they have
the
to
Toy
work
Story.
Out. Yeah.
It's the Toy Story effect of like coming to life, and it's just really interesting because I like I said, I never grew up with the lie. Right, my parents were always like, no, we definitely bought you this present, and you'll be grateful because we used our money to buy it. We're not some fat white guy came through and broke into a house at night. This is like us saving up to give you this present. So it was a really strange feeling for me perpetuating this lie to the kids. But obviously they love it and, you know, they just believe it. And it's a really curious thing to me. It's like, do the kids actually believe it or are they just pretending to believe it because they get toys? It's really hard to tell.
Thing. Yeah, it's a bit. So we were talking earlier today. We're thinking, we'd better put something together. Sunday's Christmas. And I guess the topic that we thought might be worth discussing is like the most controversial Christmas-related controversies. And so I guess maybe we've sort of inadvertently touched on the first one, which is it okay to lie to children?
Well, I want to ask you, right? Because like I said, I didn't grow up in the Asian culture. It's not really a thing to pretend to perpetuate the myth of Santa. So what's your view? Because I'm assuming you did grow up with the whole Santa Claus thing in your household, or would that be wrong?
Yeah, no, I did. It's kind of fun.
Do you remember believing, or do you remember when you found out?
No, well, both. I remember it was always better believing, right? Because it just expands the bounds of possibilities, right? When you believe it. So if you think, the only thing I'm going to get is what my parents think that I want, and it's only going to be the things I've told them, or you know. It's much less exciting, right? Whereas if it's going to be the things that some random magical stranger from the North Pole thinks that you want, they can buy you things that you didn't even know that you wanted, right? and God knows what they'll get you. So I don't know, it just makes it a bit more magical.
Yeah, I think I brought up this example in our religion episode where it's like, you know, if the kids thought about it too much and they thought about it logically, not the kids are logic-based, they'd realize that it was a lie, but no good can come out of questioning why you received gifts at random, right? So I think it's just you just try not to think about it too much. And I think it's the same with the Elf on the Shelves. Like, you know, they've got questions and legitimate questions around you know, can the elves actually eat food? Because sometimes like I put food out like pretending they're eating, or you know, can they bring other toys to life? Like what are the parameters of their magic. And they just keep on believing lies, and you just have to keep on getting deeper and deeper into the hole. It's like, no, if they choose to bring your other soft toy alive to play with, maybe they will.
I do wonder, though, is there something more deeper and psychological and scarring for a child once they realize that this whole foundational thing that they believe their whole life isn't true? So, for example,
like religion?
Well,
scarred me pretty bad.
Well, I guess it adds a possibility into the field that maybe they hadn't previously entertained, which is that they might be lied to, or their very sort of understanding of the world may not be 100% correct. And in some ways, it's quite a coming of age experience. I know you said that you never went through it, but I don't know, like, are there any corollaries in sort of the culture that you grew up in terms of mythology or
Yeah, I guess the closest thing would be superstitions, right? So a lot of some of the stories around celebrations, for example, Mid-Autumn and our Moon Festival has a whole story behind it about, a goddess that lives in the moon and all these different mythological things. My question to you, when did you realize that Santa was not real?
I think I was 7, but I had an older brother, so...
Oh, that ruined everything for you.
Yeah, and I think it was my mum.
Your mum did it?
I think my mum ruined it for me.
Man.
Yeah, I remember, and I think what's worse is that, like, I think she told me because she assumed that my brother would have told me.
Oh no!
And she's like, oh, so he's not real, right? He's like, what do you mean he's not real? He's like, and then I had these moments of like come to like realize, what about the Easter Bunny?
Oh no, you thought the Easter Bunny was real too.
It was it was like my whole life coming crashing down and burning.
You know what's the creepiest though?
Right
in that kind of family of make-believe things for kids, it's the Tooth Fairy. Think about it. Like, if you step back and think about this mythical creature that is wanting to collect children's teeth, that's freaky.
So, I mean, I guess the Tooth Fairy really is just that sweetener to convince a kid that it's okay to pull their teeth out, right? It's that, like, just do it, yank it out, because you'll get some money. But I don't know, kids these days don't seem to be particularly impressed by like the loose change that the Tooth Fairy carries around nowadays.
Get some Vimo them some money or something.
Yeah, they want online currency or Bitcoin or something.
Yeah, well, not anymore. Yeah. Let's not talk about crypto. I heard a version of the Tooth Fairy, like in the more mythological sense, that they're actually this monster that feed off the calcium of children's teeth and bones, and that they're being fed these teeth to kind of stave off the fact that they will eat the children otherwise. So I think if you look at fairy tales and things like that, and like the Grimm fairy tales and things, they're actually usually very scary for kids, and they have like a lot of dark elements and lessons built into them about kids misbehaving or stepping out of bounds or challenging adults. And then over the time, it's like sanitized, right? Like a lot of like Hansel and Gretel and all these kind of things, they're very kind of scary and very brutal in a lot of ways.
They probably have a lot of life lessons.
Have you heard of Krampus?
No.
So Krampus is like, again, going back to like the original Germanic kind of side of Christmas.
I need to like school up on my Germanic mythology, I think.
But basically, and they still have it in some countries in that side of the world, in Europe, where he's this kind of monster that disciplines kids. And in fact, in some regions, there's like a night before Christmas or one day that they designate to go dress up like Krampus and terrorize kids. Basically, he holds them in a sack and like whips them with chains and things.
All right, next Christmas controversy.
Okay. Is Christmas, as a religious Christian holiday, under attack?
I thought you were going to be sentimental there for a sec, but now you've got all Fox News on me.
We'll do it live.
So obviously, obviously it is a Christian holiday. I mean,
how obvious is it?
Christmas, right?
It's a pagan. It's actually the winter solstice and a pagan one.
Yeah, but Christmas, Christ Mass, isn't that like?
Yes, but reappropriated from a pagan holiday.
No, but it is called Christ. Like Christ is in the name of the thing, right? So sure, there might be some other duplicative parallel thing going on, and the way we celebrate it in a 2022 sense might be sort of a mixture of lots of different things that have accumulated cultural traditions over many, many millennia. But it is actually a Christian holiday, right? So, or a Christian, I don't know if holiday is the right word. It's a Christian day of remembrance or of acknowledgement of a key part of what they believe, which, the baby Jesus was born on that day. I was about to say that was when Jesus died on the cross, but that's not Christmas, is it? So, yeah, I mean, it is. Is it under attack, though? I think that's a bit far-fetched. I think, if anything, shouldn't most Christians today be looking at Christmas and going, here's our gateway drug. We can pretend to people that every day is like Christmas if you come to church.
That's true. Attract more bees with honey. But yeah, all I mean was the origins of Christmas definitely stem from, pagan and Roman cultures. So, and then of course there's the part around not actually saying Christmas.
No, but hang on. Take a couple steps back. When you say stems from, isn't Christmas the day that Jesus was born? Isn't that the thing? So how does it come from other traditions?
The way that the rituals and the way that they celebrate. And Jesus wasn't born on the
Christmas
25th.
tree and Santa Claus are all probably, no doubt, very modern confections. But the actual, if you go to a Christian church on Christmas Day, they're not celebrating Santa Claus. They're celebrating Jesus being born, right?
Yeah, but Jesus wasn't actually born at that time of year, or they're just picking a day.
But they didn't even have. Yeah, but they didn't even have 12 months in the year back then, right? They had the calendar was completely fucked, right? And then you have Orthodox Christmas.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. So they picked a day that already had a pagan and Roman ritual on it, where they celebrated to kind of, again, going back to our religion episode, to assimilate those religions and those cultures.
Yeah, so the modern thing and the modern rationale behind, there's so many different cultural influences and forces, but I guess what I would probably defend on behalf of the Christian community is that Christmas as a day is about celebrating Christ, celebrating his birth, all of the things that are alleged to have happened in the New Testament in terms of when he was born and all that sort of stuff, right? This is what Christmas means to that community, and why we celebrate it on that day, and all the other rituals that go on are sort of maybe less important to that community, but that at the end of the day, they're celebrating the very Christian part of it.
Yeah. Okay. A bit of a sidestep into really what I was asking this question about, the controversy of when I say Christmas being under attack, you tend to see this big deal and this conversation replay over and over about you can't say Christmas, it has to be Xmas. See,
I've never heard this. I've never heard you can't say Christmas, you have to say Xmas. What I've heard is the whole and again, I think this is a very American tradition, is instead of saying Happy Christmas, people say Happy Holidays or something or season's greetings or something like that. But even then, I think that is actually in response to the fact that you have not only Thanksgiving at that time of year, but you also have Hanukkah as well around that time. So there's a lot of things going on at that time of year, such that initially it wasn't a woke thing. It wasn't we can't possibly offend anyone, so we're going to use this very generic language. I think it was genuinely just people choosing to say season's greetings or happy holidays because they wanted to be as well-wishing of, say, Jewish people or even their family during Thanksgiving as they would, Christian people during Christmas.
Yeah, that might be. I mean, that's the argument. And my view is that most people don't seem to care about this, but I do hear it come up every now and then that, we're taking the religion out of Christmas. It's being overrun by the corporations, and there's a kind of PC police that are trying to make sure you don't have say the word Christ in Christmas. And that's why things like Xmas, season greetings, Merry Holiday, all these other versions of that tend to appear.
I think the other thing that's happening increasingly, there's two schools of thought. One is to say, people are of different religious views now, so we should just take all religious language and out of society, out of the workplace, out of whatever. And thankfully, I don't think that's the direction that we've gone. I think we actually have gone down a different pathway, which to be inclusive, don't just take out all of the things that make us who we are, but instead recognize the different things that make up, what different people are. So, for example, Eid and Diwali and all of these other things that different people celebrate. And then we can also celebrate Christmas. And, let's be honest, most people in Australia, at least, who celebrate Christmas aren't even Christian. It's just the thing that they're doing to have some time with family. So, be inclusive by being broad and open rather than shutting down the things that make us who we are.
All right, let's move to the next one. What do you got for me?
All right. The perfect Christmas present, a wad of cash or a thought out drawing from your 5-year-old?
Well, something actually happened to me. My daughter is very enterprising. She's very, very crafty. And she's just in the last year learnt the value of money. Kids don't really understand what money is and you just get them things. She's now understood that if she acquires money, she can buy her own things. And she's a art machine. She produces a lot of craft and art. And she came back from school the other day this week and said, "Oh, Daddy, I've made some art and I'm selling it. And, I'd like you to buy some. If you can afford it. And if you can't, you can save up for it." Because I've used that same line on her. So she had pieces ranging from $6 all the way up to $80. So she had them priced at all different things, and she placed me at the $11 price point, of which we had to have some bargaining. I was like, "Oh, it's a bit expensive," and we had to have a bargaining situation. She's like, "Well, it's not that expensive if you save up. You just need to, combine your money over a number of weeks." So I've obviously taught her very well.
So I guess more acutely, Christmas is probably the most consumerist time of year, right?
Yeah.
In 2022, it's really the only day of the year when you can't get a car park at the shopping centre. People are just buying shit, whatever they can see. Like, have you ever been to Costco during Christmas?
No, I've never been actually, I think the only times I've been to Costco in my life, like out of the 3 times I've been, 2 of them have been with you, I think.
Oh,
so
it's just hell on earth. I don't recommend it.
Christmas shopping is very stressful.
Yeah, it
can be, right? You always think you're going to do it online, but you never do.
I did mine online this year. I thought I'll do the Black Friday stuff, which was sort of good, but yeah, I'm trying to avoid the shops this year. But it's just like, is this what Christmas is all like? Come down to just things, right? Stuff.
Yeah. Let me answer that question properly, because I went on a mad segue. I come from Asian culture where red packets are given with wads of cash in them in many celebrations. So it's not like a big gift-giving culture in that way, at least my experience with it. But I do think that something thoughtful is always better, because it shows the care that you've put in, and it shows that you're in touch with the recipient's kind of wants and needs and what they're excited about. So I actually think that even if you get it slightly wrong, it is better to at least attempt for your close loved ones to give them a gift rather than a wad of cash.
So apart from the notion of getting them a wad of cash, I guess one of the things that does get a little bit old very quickly is having to think of those unique presents for like a very long list of people, right? So like,
do you have a very long list of people though? I feel like it gets shorter over time.
Well, it's long enough. So look, this is my approach, right? Like direct family within the, under the roof. That's like, you've got to look out for that cohort where you've got to think a little bit, whatever. But then once you get to like extended family, I sort of feel like that's when you can go for the cookie cutter gift approach. So everybody gets exactly the same bottle of wine or whatever, because like, let's face it, right? We don't have that much time, right, in our day-to-day lives anymore. Like my sense of like the 50s is like the housewife would spend all year planning, what to buy everyone for Christmas, and would buy the gift like in April when that thing goes on sale, and keep it or put on lay-by or whatever. Who the fuck has time for that anymore?
No, I know. I guess it's like, where do you draw the line where that the thoughtlessness of your present becomes better as a voucher of some sort?
Yeah, well, right? I actually think like, if you're going to go down that pathway, it has to be because the actual person wants that. So
what's your view on secret, bad Santa, hot or not?
Oh, I like that. Well, I don't like being compelled. I actually don't have any that I'm at the moment bound to, but I like the idea of it, right? Where it's
makes it simple, right? Everyone just comes to the party with one. It's the potluck of Christmas presents.
Yeah, and what's the one where you get to steal?
Yeah, that's bad Santa.
Yeah, that's good. Makes it more fun, more memorable.
I have a story of some relatives, and they did the bad Santa thing, but they had vastly different presents. We're talking, there's like it's almost like that Office episode where there's like an iPod.
I was going to say, you're not confusing The Office with real life, are you?
No, but it happens. And in this case, it caused a bit of an issue as well, like a real issue between the relatives.
So you stole the iPod for yourself?
No, I wasn't involved.
Yeah. I guess the other thing too, maybe on this point is, you talked before around investing the time to get something that you know that your loved one will like or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I think we can overplay the need to have some sort of display of love for them through this thing. It's a bit like Valentine's Day. Like, I find that to be particularly egregious. It's sort of like, here's this one day of the year that if you don't spend 3 times the price you would normally pay for flowers, then you're a bad husband. And it's kind of forced and thrust upon you from like the corporate giants that decided this is the thing that we're going to get behind. And Christmas feels very much the same. Like in terms of like buying presents and buying things that you think that the person will like, I'm more of a fan of giving someone the gift of a passion of yours or something that you think they would like that they maybe haven't even thought of. So like an example would be your elderly relative, like get them like a Chromecast, right? Where you can,
that's a good
where
one.
They don't even know what a Chromecast is, right? But they kind of like in their mind, the TV is they're still like watching free to air. Like they don't even
no smart
realize
TVs.
you can press pause or Netflix. What's that?
That's a great idea. I'm going to send a vape to my auntie now. Bring her into the 21st century.
All right, next controversy.
No, I'll just tell you a last story on that thing, right? Because I think that question is lending towards this kind of consumerism, and it's like actually quite a big topic. But let me tell you a story that I have about my mother actually, and about how different the situation is in terms of toys. This is a story that's stayed with me really, and it had a real impact on me. My mum came from a poor village in Malaysia, and she was one of 12, 13, if you count adoption, kids to the same mother. So huge family, very poor. And she didn't have any toys, right? The toys that they had to like make their toys. She really wanted this doll when she was a kid, and she had to save up, and the doll was worth like nothing, but she had to save up, not eat her lunch and scrimp and save. And then she eventually bought this little doll, and it came in like a little cradle to play with. It was so precious to her that she could hardly like bring herself to play with it. And she like kept it up in the attic and like would bring it down to look at it. And then they had this disturbance between the Malay citizens and the Chinese citizens. There's something called the May disturbance, and you can look it up, where they had all these riots in there, and it started in their village, and their house pretty much got ransacked and burnt down. And so she lost that one toy. And it's such a heartbreaking account of how frugal their life was over there. And she literally can't remember ever having another toy when she was a kid. And it also explains a lot of how precious she is with things. You know, she always takes such good care of her things. So whenever I hear that story, it's a lesson in a couple of things. One, how hard it was back then and how lucky we are to have what we have. Also, this thing that sometimes you care about toys and possessions so much that they end up, like the things you own end up owning you, that whole Tyler Durden thing, and you don't enjoy them until it's too late. And then lastly, it's like, look at our kids, right? Our kids have so much stuff, like tripping over toys. I had a moment the other day where I was like carrying my kids' cuddlies out, and literally I couldn't carry them all. There were just like so many toys that they have. They've, forgotten about more toys than they actually, like I ever had growing up. Do you think it's gotten too far?
Absolutely. I actually really hate stuff,
Yeah, you're quite a minimalist kind of guy.
Well, yeah, but I think that's more because of like the world I'm fighting against, because like I call like I'll say, we've got too much junk in this house or whatever, and I'll get in trouble for calling like valued possessions like junk.
You shouldn't refer to your mother-in-law like that.
But one of my experiences was getting up and traveling in my 20s and living overseas, and the liberation or the feeling of just having your suitcase and living out of your suitcase and coming to a realization that you actually don't really need anything. Like that suitcase is all you need, and it's got everything that you could ever need.
You only need one suit, your birthday suit.
Yeah, I think we're bogged down by our possessions. And anyway, but like I think in the context of kids, like, and toys, like I think it's just it's the cheap stuff that you get from, you go to Kmart, right? How many bloody $5 things that, like, I went into Kmart, like this is like 3-4 years ago too, and for like $20, it from Kmart bought this drone, like a full proper drone with all the bells and whistles that like in my like
it's crazy. You just can't think about it too much to understand how toys can be made that cheap, because it leads you down a very dark road around the labor involved. But I had the same experience where my daughter had she had like $3 or $4 in coins. She's like, I really want to go to the shops. I want to buy something. It's my money. Can I do it? I'm like, what are you going to buy for $3-4, you might as well save up and get something you actually want. Next thing we go into Kmart and there's literally 100 choices of things you can buy for $4. And they're all like substantial toys, like little soft toys or little pens and just everything, it's crazy.
My son, he's you were talking about the money thing. He say his birthday a month or so ago, and he's got been given cash, right, from grandparents and stuff, and he's like saving up. He's like, oh well, okay, good, saving up. Okay, you can buy something good with it. And he's like, what are you going to buy? He's like, oh, I'm not sure. I'll think, when I think of something, I'll buy it. And then he wants this thing that costs around $400, right? So it's actually a pretty expensive sort of thing. And then I said to him, oh, okay, well, you can put that money towards that thing that costs $400 that you want. He goes, no, I'm not going to use my money for that.
Oh, what a little shit. That's hilarious.
Anyways.
All right.
Next Christmas controversy. Christmas movies. Die Hard or Home Alone?
Oh, definitely Die Hard. I actually don't think I've watched Home Alone much. So maybe I'm the wrong person to talk to, but I always found Macaulay Culkin like really cringy, even as a kid. So Die Hard's the way to go. And I like that. I like the kind of juxtaposition of, it's not Christmassy in any way, but it's become a Christmas ritual in terms of the culture. So I
guess the irony with both of those movies is that there's nothing sort of directly Christmassy about them, but Christmas features.
Isn't Home Alone in it's in the snow and it's through Christmas time that they go away? I think.
Yeah. Well, they go away during Christmas time, so it is in the context of Christmas. But you could make that movie any time of the year, and it would be inconsequential, right? Like for both movies, it doesn't, like, the setting doesn't matter. Whereas my actual favorite Christmas movie, which is neither of those, is Chevy Chase Christmas Vacation, and that is is absolutely about Christmas, right?
I actually think that Bad Santa is a bit of a masterpiece.
I'll have to check that one out again. I haven't.
Yeah, you'll love it. Do you think that Christmas in Australia feels less Christmassy because it's not the stereotypical white Christmas? For those listening overseas, it is hot as balls in Australia on Christmas Day.
I was thinking about this earlier today, and I was thinking Christmas for me has its own rituals and things that I associate it with. So summertime, barbecues, being out, shorts, t-shirts, like that's all connected to Christmas for me. And, obviously that's a different experience to the kind of the stylized version of Christmas that you get in other countries. But I mean, often it's just cold. Like there's nothing particularly exciting about it. It's just cold. Yeah, there's this white Christmas and all of that. But very few places on the planet have a white Christmas, right? You have to go to some very particular places to have that experience.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, like I said, there's no yellow Santa. It's always a white Santa. So I have the same thing. And obviously we've grown up in Australia, so it's been part of, like, it's been all we know. We associate, barbecues and almost like a summer holiday, right? Which it is. But a lot of the traditions of Christmas, right? Like, so even the food, right? Like, you're meant to have roast meats and things like that. And we still do that in Australia, even though it's stinking hot. It makes no sense at all to put that amount of effort in terms of food prep and the roasts and all this kind of stuff on a 40-degree heat in Australia, trying to cook a roast turkey and all this kind of other business. It has no place. Like, the cuisine's all wrong. And that's because we've inherited it from a very European-style Christmas where the weather is much colder.
Yeah, I get that. But that doesn't have to be a turkey. Like, why does it have to be a turkey?
Well, Australian, I suppose, is more like prawns and seafood that are cold, I suppose.
I think that, to be honest, the thing that I most look forward to on Christmas Day is stuffing mix,
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's
That's
thing.
so funny. We don't have stuffing at all.
Oh, God, no, that's terrible. Shame on you.
Heathens.
No, the stuffing and, like, potato bake and pavlova.
Yeah, pavlova, I think, really suits. I think that's a good Australian thing.
Yeah. And
although the Kiwis would argue us on that. What is the perfect Christmas Eve and Christmas Day for you? If you could control all the variables, within reason, I'm not talking about like going on Jeff Bezos's yacht or anything.
Okay, Christmas Eve is all about the slow enjoying the neighborhood, right? It's especially if it's a nice hot balmy night, Christmas lights on out front, and just that kind of maybe some not heaps of drinks, but just enough to kind of keep you festive, and maybe sit on your front porch, soak up the vibe, kids sort of mucking around, whatever, music, Christmas carols, not carols, but Christmas songs. just that general, just get into the vibe for that one day a year.
Yeah.
And how about you? What about Christmas Eve? What's your perfect Christmas Eve?
I think my perfect Christmas Eve does very much revolve around the kids and the excitement and the wonder. So I think doing the cookies and leaving that out, I think that's like a really strong ritual. I think, having some really nice alcohols, so some nice red wine. We have a tradition where I've bought a bunch of the same wine and we drink one every year, so it kind of like ages as we age kind of thing. Clumsy metaphor, I know. But so just, pretty similar, I guess.
And Christmas Day?
It's always a challenge. For me, the perfect balance is this dynamic where things slow down. And it's really, really hard to achieve, I think, on holidays and all this stuff. It's like, how do you find time in between things rather than either rushing around or just really trying to get on top of the catering? And that's why I mentioned that whole business about how stressful it is hosting a lunch, because the reality is if you're doing that, you're cooking the night before. There's a huge shop. You've got things coming in from the butcher. The morning of, you're pulling together salads. You're trying to get everything prepped so the day runs smooth. And you miss out on that, the space between things where you're just sitting on the couch or you're just watching your kids. So for me, the perfect element would be having that time slow down. So you actually feel like you're not rushing and you could just watch them, enjoy their presence. You could just sit on the couch and talk to them, and then you could, handle your day.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a nice segue into the next Christmas controversy, which is it even worth it? Is Christmas worth it? Is it too much trouble? Because when you think about pretty much the whole of December, you're buying presents, working out what to buy, wrapping them, buying food, you're a couple of grand lighter probably. You're tired.
Christmas lights.
Like, it's a lot of work, and it's not for you as the adult, right? So there might be some parts of it that you can take joy in, like you can vicariously live through your kids and kind of see them happy, so it kind of makes you happy a little bit. But
it's working thus far for me.
It is pretty brutal, right?
Yeah.
Christmas overall.
I think there's a lot of pressure because I think when kids are involved is that trying to get it perfect. And I think Christmas is one of those times where because it's so universal in our society, that it's a kind of keeping up with the Jones moment. It's like, do you have your life together enough that you can afford to, buy the bike, the big present for the kids, and they all have a comparable experience? Do you have enough organization and money in the bank and resources to get lunch organized, like nice food and all this kind of stuff? It's a litmus test of, am I making it? Am I keeping up with the Jones? And I think that's where the pressure comes in.
So my take on this is it all depends on who you see yourself as, right? If you see yourself as someone whose worth comes from your ability to string this together, because that's the thing that you have defined yourself as, then maybe there would be pressure. But I kind of go into it with a bit of a anti-establishment sort of attitude, like no, I'm not playing your game. I'm not going to come at this with like I'm not over-engineering any aspect of this. If you want to over-engineer your stuff, that's fine. I'm just gonna do my bit, which is going to be simple. And
there's a limit, though, right?
Yeah,
you can't rock up to lunch and in place of a roast turkey, there's like a Coles barbecue chicken.
Fuck, of course you can. Why can't you? No, seriously. Like, why can't you? Like, I'm deadly serious. Like, if it's all how you do it, right? If you're,
I'll tie a ribbon around the legs or something.
I mean, what you're painting to me is like what makes like Chevy Chase in National Lampoon so hilarious, because he takes it so seriously and he wants to deliver that perfect Christmas experience. But to your point before, like, you can't just soak it up and just take it in. So for me, the way for everyone to just soak it up, take it in, is those little hacks you can take. Now, whether you hack it by getting the Coles charcoal chicken, that's a different question. But what if they have like a pre-cooked turkey roast or something and it looks okay? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So what? Like, does it matter?
No, that's true. And I think that I'm a big fan of, not going too crazy, because like you said, you just don't enjoy it. But I think there is pressure for a lot of people. And I agree with you that there shouldn't be, but there is.
Yeah. Well, but again, I think that you put the pressure on yourself, right? If that's the case, right? So if you're quite happy just to chill out and what will be, then yeah, you can have a much better experience. What's the best gift you've ever gotten for someone?
Yeah, I can't even remember the gifts that I've received last year,
Let alone the gifts
all the
you've
gifts.
given.
Doesn't that say something about
Christmas.
Christmas?
What a waste of time it is.
Can you seriously
Just-
remember what you got for the last couple of Christmases?
Well, I probably bought it for myself. That's why. If I answer that question and I say the best gift that I've given, does it count if I include a present that I've given to myself?
Yeah, just give it to me.
Well, Bluetooth headphones. That changed my life.
But I thought they were giving you a bald spot on your head. Now I'm getting worried about us wearing these.
Well, I told
freaking
you it's
headphones
changed
too
my
long.
life. I didn't.
Advanced hair.
Well, I mean,
I remember when you first got them, actually, like the proper sound cancelling one, right?
yeah.
And
I think it changed
yeah.
my life in a few ways because I started listening to, well, for starters, it was like just incredible to be able to listen to music or podcasts I didn't actually listen to podcasts or audiobooks at that time, but kind of
I remember you
it was
getting
the
into
gateway into all of those things. And
Yeah, I was a very early adopter of AirPods. I remember having like a shitty old iPhone, but I got the brand new AirPods at the time because I just saw the potential, even though they looked dorky and like weird earrings and people made fun of you back then. I was just like, it's just amazing to be wireless and to actually have this sense of freedom. Okay, so we covered materialism, kids, the presents. So does your boy still believe in Santa?
I think so.
What does he think when he sees the Santas at the mall? Though? Does he think they're just like performers?
I don't know. Actually, I don't think I've seen one. This has been since COVID and stuff. Yeah, I'm not sure actually.